Hello, Edwina Murphy-Droomer is my name, and I am so excited to welcome you to this interview in the series where I am speaking to phenomenal feminine entrepreneurs in order to gain their life-changing insights on how we take control of our future, our prosperity, and our freedom. Today, I am absolutely delighted to introduce you to Sarah Louise. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us.
My absolute pleasure. It's an honor to be here speaking.
I always get an extra dose of happy when I'm talking to somebody in the same country. So many of the people that I interview are in the US or the UK or somewhere else. So it's lovely to have you here in Australia. We're not exactly neighbours, but Sarah, for those in our audience that actually haven't come across your work until now, would you take a little bit of time or a lot of time to give us a little bit of your story on how you came to be doing the work that you do now?
Sure. So today I work as a transformational coach. I'm an intuitive, so I work very much in the energy field, but I'm also really interested and passionate about the human aspects of self. So our conditioning, our programming, our beliefs. And I believe that there's this incredible alignment when we work with self and we become aware of our human and our being to transform our lives and our stories to, the most incredible they can be, and what I call rise up to our full potential. And I believe that my story has not been your average normal story, but I understand that it had to be that way so that I could show up for people and to, coach and mentor and help people to be the best person that they can be, regardless of where they've been. Yeah. So I was born in London, and I was born to two very powerful, kind of incredible beings, complete entrepreneurs. My father was born as a local greengrocer, and died as a multimillionaire living in Monte Carlo. And it was just because of his, wangling and seeing opportunities, absolute true entrepreneur. And so was my mother. Unfortunately, together they were very chaotic. And when my father left, when I was 5 years old, he left my mother in, alcoholism, depression. And so I grew up in this very chaotic environment, and always told I was the love child of, this incredible love affair that had gone wrong. And, it was very extreme. By 13, I was, drugs, alcohol, boys. I left home. I was living of, not the normal childhood life. Yeah. And I could tell my story, I could sit here and tell you, and, but, I've been to rehab. I've, looked at a prison sentence. I've been married twice. I've got 3 incredible children. I've lived all over the world. And I totally understand that this journey that I've been on and experienced all these things has taken me to the lowest points that I ever thought were possible. And it's been in those moments that I've had the most incredible growth. And I've learned so much. And so I completely understand now that life isn't a fairy tale. And I believe that we're really conditioned that, it needs to be easy, and challenge is bad. And, you should be a certain way and then you'll be successful. And, successful means this. And what I've kind of unraveled through my life is, in those moments of complete desperation, I've had this, immense awakening, and, my awareness has become so much more. And it's not a fairy tale, but it's the most amazing adventure that is incredible. And there's a part of me that just really wishes that when we're born, instead of being read the fairy tale, someone would read to us a story of every challenge you're going to face is going to be the most incredible time of awakening and growth. And, these are the moments that you're going to treasure.
Yeah.
And then how different life would be, as we were going through challenge, we would be like, yay, I'm growing, I'm evolving. So today I've got to a place where I can help people and I can share an experience completely from my heart, with complete authenticity, with complete passion, and show people that regardless of where you've been, you can have anything you desire.
Yeah.
And life's going to break you down in different ways to help you see that. And sometimes that breaking down can feel like you're falling apart, but it's in those moments that if we can find that courage and that power to step up.
Yeah. I'm madly taking notes, because as you're saying things, there's things that I just want to remember to keep drawing on. A couple of things there. One is, that the fairy tales that we're told and that we tell our children, it's really interesting. My kids went through the Steiner system, where they are actually told the Grimm's fairy tales, which are really dark. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's, when I was being introduced to this way of teaching kids, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want my kids to hear these stories. I want them to have Disney stories where everything's sweet and light and happy. But with that awareness, understanding why they share these stories is exactly what you were just talking about. So that's I love that you brought that up. And part of what I do in these series is I call myself the wisdom curator, and what I'm looking for is people with stories just like yours that are so rich in experience. When I think about wisdom, I'm not undermining academic learning, but I'm not looking for somebody that learnt everything in a book and then can regurgitate it. Yes, that's a level of intelligence to do that, but my experience is that true wisdom comes from the experience that we live through, and then you can take those experiences and share them with other people to help them on their journeys, which is what you've come to do and actually turn into a career.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's my passion for helping others and helping others to navigate their way through. I mean, it's always been there. When I was younger, it was, the physical, it was very, how we look, exercise, nutrition, beauty. I just wanted people to feel good, because I know what it feels like not to feel good. And I know that we can in any moment. And then it just, it evolved to actually we could look good, but we don't actually feel good sometimes. So, taking all aspects of self to feel good, because that's why we're here, to feel happy, to feel, to feel joy.
Yeah. Well, it's when I think about my 4 children, my 2 wishes for them are health and happiness. I mean, it's really is as basic as that. Not simple.
Yes. Yeah.
Not simple, but basic.
Yeah. Definitely.
So there's lots of different things to pull out from that, and I'm just wondering where to start. I keep thinking about the first time I was introduced to you and your work was through an interview with Kim Morrison, and you talked about this dawning moment that came from burnt toast. I'd love you to share that story, because it really was like a light bulb in my mind.
Sure. So there was a moment, and it was in the kitchen making the toast, and I had been talking to somebody previously, and as the toast is all coming out, how as a mother, the toaster pops up and there's a burnt piece, and the mother says, oh, don't worry, I'll have that piece. And just that moment of realizing how we make ourselves small, we put ourselves at the back of the list, family comes first. It was just like, there were so many revelations around that for me of what am I teaching my children? How am I valuing myself here? why don't we just put that burnt toast in the bin
Yeah.
or to the birds, and let's make some more.
Yeah.
So it was there's been many significant moments like that in life where I've kind of gone, wow, that I have to change this pattern because this isn't serving me.
Mm. And I think, expanding on that whole idea, a lot of the women that I work with have actually got to the point where their kids are, later teenagers are leaving home, that empty nest.
Yeah.
And then women are, well, now what do I do? What's for me? Even who am I? Because we get so immersed, not right or wrong, but so immersed in the role of motherhood and this sort of checklist of things that we do every day that we completely lose sight of who we are and what we want. And I think that's part of the work that you do as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I work with many women who arrive in my room and for that exact reason, and they say, I don't know who I am. I've lost my identity. I don't even know what to do anymore with my world, because we've been, of service to our children for so many years. And I think it's an incredible time for a woman to touch base with, her true self. And we've changed over those years of mothering, so yeah, I actually adore working with women around that time and just giving them their power and helping them to be the amazing women that they are, and understand that yes, there's a void there, but it can now be full of so much richness. It's just different.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love a little bit more of the story of how you came to turn your learnings and your wisdom into a business.
Sure. So it's funny, I was saying to my future husband the other day, I was saying, I've never actually worked for anybody else. And I think I was very lucky with my parents, my father saying to me very young, we just don't do that. He just said, if, you just have to do whatever you're going to do. So for me, as I say, I've always, it was setting up my own business when I was 17 and it was beauty. And as I say, it was exercise and just transform that through my life to evolve as I've evolved. So, from the physical, it went into the energetic side of things. So I learned Reiki, and then I became a master, and then I taught Reiki workshops. And then I opened up my first business, and I had a spa, a salon, a center in London, and then I took that overseas. And so I think luckily I was conditioned and programmed to you just have to do it yourself. And I think I've been so passionate about my belief and of being of service to others. It's just evolved, and to the point where today I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
I just, there's nothing in me that could ever do anything else. I know that my purpose on the earth at the moment is to help others, and how I show up and do that is different every day, whether it's a meditation class, whether it's coaching, whether it's a chat with a mother in the car park. It's, that's what it is. And I'm extremely fortunate that it's given me a career and, and it's given me an incredible lifestyle.
Yeah. I think being an entrepreneur isn't necessarily for everybody, but the people listening to this are certainly going to be in the mind space that it is possible. What I really am hearing and want to know more is, how did you go from being a 13-year-old that left home to opening your own spa centers? And I just, we're so conditioned with the stories that, who we are coming out the other side of school is going to determine our life, our future. It wasn't the to-do list that got you there. I'm sure that helped, but it was who you were being and the enormous courage that you must have had that came from somewhere.
Yeah. So after leaving school, my mother actually had a health center. So I went and I worked there a little bit, and then I went I did kind of go to some part-time college, and but it was when I was 18, my father had done very well, and he'd moved over to Monaco, and he was living in Monte Carlo. And I went to him and I said, you know, Dad, I can't live this life. And I had a boyfriend who was in prison. It was just chaos. And luckily he had come from where I was. So he knew the path, he knew the journey, and he had just made it big time. And so, and I mean, he was a complete villain. He didn't make it through, I don't think, Anyway, that's another story. So
it sounds like a good one.
So he said to me, I'm going to lend you this money,
Yeah.
and I'm going to teach you about business, and you're going to set up a business here in Monte Carlo. So I set up this mobile beauty, and I actually bought this incredible machine, which was non-surgical facelifting. And within 18 months, and because of that, I have to succeed, and this is what I'm doing. I'd paid the money back. I had a huge bank balance, and I had a team working for me. And I think because I had this incredible, powerful person behind me going, you can do this. Here's a little bit of guidance. Every Friday we sat with pen and paper, and he taught me how to do bookwork. And I'm completely dyslexic, and I'm terrible, but he said, this is in, this is out, this is how you do it. And I literally did bookwork like that until probably a couple of years ago. It was just this basic kind of, this is how it goes. If you don't have it, you don't spend it, and it was just this real, and it grew dramatically. And then because people could see I was doing well, I was asked to go and do different other things and help people. So it was just this incredible, keep stepping up. And don't get me wrong, there was moments when I fell, quite low down, but because I knew what was possible, I just would get back on that ladder again, and I would never give up.
I'm always fascinated with the psychology and the way that, some people in that situation would go on welfare or government support and, like, this isn't possible for me. And there's something in you and in other people that says there is no choice but to succeed and to create something amazing. And I'm fascinated by what that is and where it comes from.
I don't know, and it's funny, I sometimes think like this drive in me, and I definitely, I'm kind of with my children on it, we're in a limitless world, and you can have whatever you want, but you have to work for it. You have to put the effort in, and you have to trust, and it's not just all physical work, but it's the mind, and but if you put that in, anything is possible.
I think it starts with two things. You've got to have that why. I mean, I know my why has evolved over time, but it's got to be really, it's got to really engage you and pull you forward, and vision. So I'd love to go there with you, with your why. I can hear where your why was. Has that evolved? Has that changed?
It definitely evolves over the years, most definitely. But my why is because, as I say, I just want people to know what's possible, and how you could come to me with any limiting story and any kind of experience that you could use as an excuse not to. There's no excuses. I've been there.
My apologies, we froze then for a minute, but we're back.
So my why is most definitely because I don't have a choice on this earth at this time other than to help people.
Beautiful. So my other passion that I see as the thing that's between where we are and where we want to go is that really clear vision. And I think this is something that you're aligned with. So tell me, if you're happy to, how you create those visions. Are you a vision board person, or do you write your goals? What does it look like for you?
So yeah, I spend a lot of time in my kind of future vision planning. If I don't have it written down, if I don't have goals that I'm working on, I feel like I'm wasting my time. So yeah, in my bedroom at the moment, we actually have whiteboards on all of the walls with love maps and work goals, household goals. We have, I like to, with the children, have goals for them. Yeah, it's super important. And also mental visionary. So in my meditation, I do a lot of creative meditation work.
Yeah.
So every day I spend time, living my dreams in my imagination.
Yeah.
And I think, we know that our thoughts create reality.
Mm-hmm.
What we are putting out, the brain doesn't know the difference between their past, future. And I know my past really well. And I don't want to spend any more time analyzing what's been. So I consciously make a choice every day to, and where my attention is, the energy flows, and I know that's what I'm creating.
Yeah, I love that. The brain doesn't know the difference between, I used to tell my kids, but I still do, between a real smile and a fake smile. If you smile, if you light up your face, even if inside you're like,
yeah, exactly.
You can't be grumpy and smile.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we have to fake it to make it, and that's okay.
Yeah. I would love to talk to you about, one of the questions in the book that goes with this series is about what feminine leadership looks like and means to you. So I want to go there, but before we go there, I would love if you could answer, a lot of people, the conversation around what feminine energy is and masculine energy is fairly new for a lot of people. So if you're happy to, I'd love to go there first. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between feminine and masculine energy so that, we've got that picture?
So my belief, my understanding is feminine energy is very heart-centered, emotionally based. It's very fluid. It's very, it's your heart center. Women come from their emotional heart center. That's how we think with our hearts. So masculine energy is very logical, and it's very, linear, and it comes from our minds.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's the fundamental difference between our feminine and our masculine energy. And I believe that we need a blend of the two, most definitely, to, to be at our optimum and living. But I think that we were very much based in real masculine energy for a long time. It was very linear, it was very thought, it was very logical, it was very, mind space.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now is we're sinking more into the feminine, which is emotional, and it's heart space. And so it's a lot more fluid, and there's a lot more flow, and it's so much more open. The linear is quite not small, but it's very different when we feel into it.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk that we're moving into a much more feminine era, and the way that we do things now, the way that we do business. I hear conversations a lot more around, we're moving away from this idea of competition. What's mine is mine, and and now we're in this space of this much more feminine space in business, particularly in this online entrepreneurial world that we're both in, where collaboration is much more what people are focusing on rather than competition.
Yes, yeah, that's very much, I believe, due to the age of Aquarius that we're in right now. So we've just kind of, not long ago moved into the age of Aquarius, and it's all about coming together. It's all about supporting one another. It's, we're stepping out of the I. So that most definitely is the time that we're in. I just wanted to touch on a little what you said about the feminine and the masculine. And I kind of see it like this. If I was very much in my masculine energy and I came from my thought space, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because if I think about it logically, my journey where I've been wouldn't have put me where I am. But because I'm coming from that feminine space, my belief, my energy, my openness, my emotions, of wanting to be can take me there. So you can see that it's the complete different way of thinking.
It is. Yeah, it is. And, I've like most entrepreneurs have done huge amounts of personal development and work in this area, but it is something that I still have to get challenged by, this idea of surrendering.
Yes.
But give me the checklist. Where's surrender? And I hear you, and I hear what you're saying, but my analyzer brain struggles with it. It does. So I know, and I say that, it's not easy to say these things without feeling like I should know better and I should know more, and I am deliberate in being vulnerable in sharing these things, because I know if I'm thinking it, other people are thinking it.
Sure.
So, when you talk about you wouldn't be where you are now if you followed the logical brain and you're following your heart, are you able to give, an example or a story or something that sort of highlights that? Maybe if there was a difficult choice that you had to make, or if you were faced with something, and your analyzer brain or your critical thinker would have taken you on one path, but your heart took you on another.
Yeah. So I think that can definitely come down to relationships with me. So my first marriage broke down, and it was very sad, but we remained very good friends. So my second marriage was it. It was never going to break down. It was going to be forever. And, that was that. So, unfortunately that did break down, and I had to face betrayal. And my logical head told me at that point, because of my upbringing, I couldn't do relationships. I wasn't very good at love. I just didn't work for me. That was the story that I could have played off. And I did so much work around that at that time, of that's not the truth. This is an experience. And, and the growth that I did that to now be in probably the most beautiful, supported, loving relationship, to come from that is incredible, because my heart wanted to close down and say, it's possible for others, not for me, and this is just because of my upbringing, and I can't love, and and I had to break down so much of that stuff and stay in my heart to go, actually, this is what I desire, and I can have it, and this is not the truth, and my heart can. And so I think, I could tell you lots of stories like that, and today I sit here and my reality is incredible.
Yeah. I know that a lot of women are going to align and resonate with that story. I think it's beautiful. What I think of, what comes to my mind with a lot of the women that I've worked with, and I know certainly what I did for a very long time was constantly learning and studying and never feeling like I knew enough. I did naturopathy, and then I did functional nutrition, and I still felt like I didn't know enough yet. I needed to do another course. That was my logical brain. That was the academic learning in me that wanted me to keep doing that. And I see it so often. I think maybe it's a comparison thing. There's always somebody that knows more. And so you feel like you've got to, that's that logical brain. But I think if we tune into our intuition and into our heart, knowing that we have things that will make somebody else's life easier, we have things to teach, is anyway, that's another example from my life.
Yeah, most definitely. I'd love to just pick up on that word comparison, because I would say that probably my greatest lesson of recent years has been, there's a lot of people in my space of work who've been, stepping up and coming in, and that I have struggled a little bit in that of, but maybe they have that really incredible psychology thing, and I didn't go to school, and maybe I'm not, or and there's so many of us now, and and wanting to judge and compare of, but they don't have the experience, and so I've really had to surrender into, we all have a place here, and there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody has a gift to share. And if my true intention is to inspire others, then how wonderful that I've got this incredible team who are all trying to do the same thing. And that, I think, for women especially, that when that self-doubt comes in, and that, but there's others, or I'm not as, I think it's so important just to remember that, we can contribute, just as much as anybody else in life.
And it is the willingness to be a bit vulnerable and say, well, this is my journey and this is what I've learned. If my journey can help you, then that's actually super generous.
Yes.
And just staying in, I think the phrase that comes to mind is staying in your lane.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So I would love to ask you, actually, no, I'm going to go back because we didn't quite finish. I tend to do this. We go off on tangents and then I've left something hanging. Feminine leadership. I just think it's such a, something that I really love. And I believe that feminine leadership actually starts in the home as mothers. And, going back to your earlier conversation about the toast, it's what we're role modeling and the choices we make. But, where do you see yourself as a feminine leader? And, what do you see that the importance of that role in communities and families and the world at large?
I think that, I mean, there's lots of different aspects of that I could talk about, but I think that for me, as you say, it does start in the home, and it does, there's been this incredible shift, I believe, from, women being very suppressed, and, and then this kind of, I kind of call it a weird elevation of, there was a complete imbalance for a while there of, women kind of wanting to really step into the masculine, but I believe that we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit at that time, because we then became, okay, we're going to be leaders, we're going to work, and we're going to run the house, and we're going to be mothers, and we're going to just do everything. And I feel like that's coming more into balance now, and there's more of this incredible energy of women are extremely powerful, but in a different way. And we all have our gifts and our strengths, and allowing ourselves to, be that without having to kind of prove that we're, everything. Because I think that becomes extremely difficult for women, So yes, I'm going to be, in my business and doing this incredible work, but you know what? I'm going to have support at home over here because I value myself. And I don't have to do all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Unapologetically.
Completely.
My favorite words.
Yeah.
So I know you have a beautiful gift for our audience. Would you take a minute to let them know what that is?
Yes. So on full moons and new moons every month, I run live meditations for our tribe. And I do these on these specific dates because we know that we're quite sensitive around the moon energy. So I come on and I talk about the energies that are happening. I give us an intention for the month. We sometimes do a little bit of, I'll teach about ceremony or moon waters or crystals, because that's a little hobby of mine. And then I do a guided meditation that sets us kind of energetically in tune with the month ahead. So I would love to give that a session of one of those out. So yeah, that would be incredible. We've got an incredible global tribe, and they're super powerful sessions. So yeah.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful. I'll be there. I'll be there. So as a final question, I love to ask this, each of the beautiful feminine entrepreneurs in this series, what does a rich and prosperous life look like to you? Because it's something completely different for everybody. And I think it's part of that whole vision of this life that we're wanting to create. And I just love to give examples of how varied that can be. So for you, what does that look like?
Rich and prosperous life is me living in alignment with my true self and my values. And it's about, having balance in my life. It's about keeping my bucket full and looking after myself, because I know if I do that, I can show up really well. So balance is really important to me. It's super important that I keep myself fit and healthy, because that's one of my highest values. So, for me to feel strong, feel healthy, have a balance between my family, my friendships, my work, my relationship, life, I'm living everything. If I'm working too much, it's not rich and prosperous, because there's, lack over here. So if I've got it in balance and I'm giving my energy to all aspects that are important to me, there's nothing else.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's making me think of one of my favorite books, Eat, Pray, Love, and she talks about when she's in Bali finding her balance. That's what it made me think of.
Yes, completely. Yeah.
It's gorgeous. This has been such a lovely conversation, and I'm so, so grateful to you for making the time to be here. Thank you, Sarah.
My absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.